Hello and welcome to Top10List.org, where you get a world of knowledge in 10 simple points. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the top 10 90s soundtracks. So let's jump in the time machine and dive right in at number 10 with Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is the soundtrack has got to be entirely incredible, or something like that anyway. A suave and clever soundtrack by the Dust Brothers to accompany David Fincher's suave and clever movie, one of the first huge electronic soundtracks that fits its job description perfectly. And number 9 is The Lion King. The only movie on the list made mainly for children, The Lion King's theme tune features the work of a certain Elton John with the help of Tim Rice, and some orchestral work from Hans Zimmer. The soundtrack is one of the most memorable you'll come across, featuring songs such as Hakuna Matata, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, as well as Circle of Life, a dramatic and clever accompaniment to a movie every kid should see. And number 8 is American Beauty. Just wow. Iconic, anthemic, beautiful. Just some of the words you could use to describe Newman's score for an astonishing virtuoso performance from Kevin Spacey. My favorite role from Kevin Spacey. Best remembered for the song also titled American Beauty, accompanying the infamous plastic bag scene. This soundtrack has even been remixed and put into dance tracks. Number 7 is the Shawshank Redemption. Widely acclaimed as one of the best movies of all time, just check out imdb.com. This absolutely superb film has a score to match by Thomas Newman. Newman is one of the most prolific scorer of movies in the last 30 years that we've seen, and this is one of his best works, which was recognized with his nomination for an Academy Award for Best Original Score. It is not quite his best in my book, although that title does go to Forrest Gump at number 6. This was really one of the movies that put film composer Alan Silvestri on the map. He has gone to become one of the most prolific composers for Hollywood over the past 20 years, and Forrest Gump truly displays why, with 21 pieces of original music composed to accompany this piece with Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis' heroism. And number 5 is Reservoir Dogs. The second of Quentin Tarantino's gangster movies finds its way onto the list. Reservoir Dogs was released before Pulp Fiction and features music from the 60s through the 80s, including Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede, a selection of music performed by Stephen Wright, and of course the amazing Steelers Wheel song Stuck in the Middle with You, another incredible selection of music set to a sinister tone along with the movie. Quentin's music choice is always original and seems to work perfectly, as demonstrated with the unusual choice of Harry Nilsson's Coconut over the end credits. Number 4, another favorite on my list and another Tarantino film, is Pulp Fiction. Another film here purely for the magnificent choice of music. Tunes such as Son of a Preacher Man, Flowers on the Wall, Jungle Boogie, and much more set the scene for the 90s most seminal of gangster movies. Featuring huge names such as Bruce Willis, John Travolta, Uma Thurman, and Samuel L. Jackson, making an all-star cast, but it is an inspired inclusion of Dick Dale's Maris Lou in the movie and the trailers released beforehand that become truly iconic in the history of this film. Tarantino's music inclusion is always spot on, hence our next choice. Number 3 is Trainspotting. Trainspotting was a movie that encapsulated a generation. Danny Boyle's masterpiece has developed a cult following and will surely go down in history as one of the greatest pieces of cinema of its time. This movie is not in here for original music scored for the movie, but for a classic selection of 90s tunes. Blur, Underworld, Elastica, and Left Field are just some of the British 90s heroes that make this soundtrack an alternative masterpiece. Number 2, one of my favorite movies to ever come out in the 90s, Star Wars Episode 1. A Phantom Menace, John Williams' second in the list for musical scores. A Phantom Menace is not widely regarded as a classic, certainly not when compared to the rest of the Star Wars series, but the movie is undeniably well scored, making it number 2 on our list, and an orchestral masterpiece drives Anakin Skywalker on his early adventures from start to finish. You'd expect nothing less from an anthemic for a Star Wars movie, and John Williams certainly delivers that here. Number 1, one that's so memorable on our list, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was an absolute 90s classic. Spielberg's dinosaur-themed epic made history with its special effects. The score was written by film composer John Williams and became the soundtrack to a wave of 90 kids' favorite movies. Thank you for joining us on this time machine throwback old school episode of Top 10 90s Soundtracks. If you enjoyed this time travel today, click subscribe and don't hesitate to join us again for another episode of Top 10.